Alright, so episode 3 of Percy Jackson season 2 is here, and oh boy, we have a lot to talk about because I think we are now getting into the full thick plot of it all, especially with the storytelling, and all of it is all around Luke and what is his war with Olympus, especially with Kronos involved. And I think we learn a lot more for what's about to go down, especially with Percy knowing about the Golden Fleece and the Great Prophecy, and much more to go over. And so this will be my full breakdown of episode 3, pointing out everything that you may have missed and give you guys my full thoughts on it. So let's not waste any time. And so, if you're new, then be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so I'm on any future videos. But now, let's hop right into it. And now, I have to say, I really liked how we kicked off the third episode, because especially with like stuff from the books that was really pointed out here, and even after episodes 1 and 2 got me hooked, and oh boy, I think in this episode it's on the lines of, yeah, this is starting to get real, because for how we open up this episode is with Clarice in like a storage attic somewhere. That's where she's at, and then we see her visiting the Oracle of Delphi, and I think this is also like from the book that with this artifact, it's someone who speaks cryptic prophecies from the god Apollo, and in which Clarice looks at it, and then from we all see it was all just a vision that she has, and we see her back at the camp. And this is the moment where, yeah, Tyson, Annabeth, and Percy have left Camp Half-Blood and to go on their quest, and this is what Titalius is aware of, but now that he instructs Clarice to have a replacement companion with her just to go on the quest to find the Golden Fleece. But this is all just like a Percy's mission overall, because this is how he wants to save the Camp Half-Blood. And next up, we see Tyson, Annabeth, and Percy all on a cruise ship. But this isn't just any other cruise ship, but this is like Luke's ship. And even for what the ship is actually called, it is Princess Andromeda, which it is captained by Luke, and this is the living space for Kronos' army. So this is like pretty much like their home out at sea, and this is where Tyson, Annabeth, and Percy travel to in order to see Luke about the prophecy, and just to get everything out of him for what is an unveiling of the great prophecy ahead. And this is why we see Allison on the ship, and it also explains why Grover was spotted by her, especially in like the opening of season 2, in which it meant that, like, yeah, they had to get to Grover like sooner than they think. And this is all because of like, yeah, like, Luke's rebellion is on that ship, because especially with the meaning of all this behind, and this is all part of Luke's rebellion because of Kronos, and that this is all part of Luke's war. But especially, that's something that I'll get into in a bit. But even with the chemistry with Percy and Annabeth for where it goes, is it like sparking for what I think it is? That they are all looking for Luke that is on that ship, and this is because, and even though this is also in the movie version, but I like how they pulled off this a little bit better, because this is how Percy knows about the Great Prophecy and for what he needs to know. Just from he's aware that the Titans are returning because Kronos is returning to set off a war on Olympus. So that's why, like, this is all part of Luke's plan all along, in which Annabeth reveals to Luke, especially for what the plot unveils. And I think this is where it really gets into some really juicy stuff, especially from going into fighting the Golden Fleece and to save the Camp Half-Blood. And this is what Percy knows too, and even though this is all because of him, like, not knowing to know the truth either from Annabeth or Luke, because even as Annabeth knows, and now we get to the point where Clarice is putting together an army, and that she needs Ares' help to help do that, to put it all together. And with this rundown of Ares instructing her army to not lose, or else he'll grind them down to the bones. And yeah, this is all crazy for how just for how it is all coming together. And even with Clarice that wants to really go on this quest, but yeah, it's like she is putting together an army that is huge. And then with Annabeth and Percy, that they later spot Allison on the ship, which she impersonates as sort of like a ship guest. But then they quickly notice that yeah, she is a part of Kronos' army, that this is all captained by Luke on the ship. And then with the two that they battle against Allison, and wow, it gets totally wild, just for how the sequences and the cinematography, for how it is shaping up to be such a rundown for how this quest and the Great Prophecy is gonna go. And I just really appreciate for how they were able to handle so much material, and just to point out stuff from the book in this show itself. And this is what really has me intrigued for what the story is about to get into in terms of the direction and what type of meaning that they're willing to go with. And I think this is also a pretty insane, it's sort of Tyson, Annabeth, and Percy, and that they all go to confront Luke and his army, which is his rebellion. And then they are knowing about the Great Prophecy too. And for what we see in this moment is that we hear Kronos' voice coming from this crest shaped artifact. Yeah, this is marking the return of Kronos, and that this is the start of a war. And then it all explains why Luke is after the Golden Fleece, and that he really wants to heal up Kronos a lot sooner. And so yeah, this is a big set on Olympus that Luke is definitely planning. Just with his rebellion alone, they're all being put under the wing of Kronos, and that's why this is a big battle that is really starting to form. And this is for how Percy is really feeling, is that yeah, he is after the Golden Fleece too, but this is why it's also just the Great Prophecy. We get the most revealing moment at the entire episode, and that's with Luke showing Percy and Annabeth all of the demigods and monsters that are preparing for their fight with this war that's about to be unveiled. And that's with the Titans and the Olympians that will shatter Earth, which is later revealed by Annabeth, and which what Percy plans to do, and especially revolving the fate of his friends, and with Camp Half-Blood, and it's said to be fighting a new golden age. And with this is all part of Kronos' plan. He established this army, but Percy is totally against it, but especially with Luke that wants them to join him, and then that he refuses to join. And then we obviously see Percy and Annabeth and Tyson escaping the ship, especially with Allison that was completely onto them. And I think this is somewhat very interesting for how everything is all starting to unravel from here. I think this is definitely a moment that Luke is definitely closer to be starting up this war, and just establish for what this battle really represents, especially from Olympus and with the Titans, and just with all that for what it is really heading towards. And now with the ending to this episode is with Percy, Annabeth, and Tyson that they escape Princess Andromeda, and with Percy that uses the thermos of wind to steer them away from the ship, and with Luke that sees them leave at their out to sea on the life raft, and they're one step closer to going to the Sea of Monsters and to rescuing Grover. And this is how the battle is really being formed, especially with in this moment of Clarice and gathering up her army, and that they give them like the prep talk, and this is what they need because this is all because of Kronos, and that this is really for what's unveiling. But and even with the final scene that I want to touch upon is with Annabeth telling Percy just the whole prophecy, and that's what is really revealing, and that is with the prophecy is a child of the eldest three who reaches 16 years old will become a very powerful weapon. I think this is really reliant on Percy for what he learns about like what's gonna be like upon like the golden fleece of this very powerful battle. And I think for what it's really unveiling is like the powerful hero that saves Olympus will either save it or destroy it, and that's something that I really found really interested in, and this is what Percy learns. Like this is probably his fate that he is learning about, and that's how everything is at stake for how Luke and Kronos' army, aka his rebellion, are now going into war. This is how the battle is really being unveiled to us, and I think a lot is about to go down based on what Annabeth told Percy, and now that we know somehow of the great prophecy, and that's with the child who reaches 16 years old, that is because of Percy, and that is a very powerful weapon that really becomes stronger, and that's like the big moment to end the episode, and that's how we'll really get into the deep and thick of it. And I'm guessing like if this is how we end the episode, and oh boy, we're about to be in for a treat, as I think we're about to learn more about somehow of the great prophecy for how Grover is really going to like handle being out in the sea of monsters, and how Percy and his friends are going to rescue him. And I think we're going to be learning a lot in these next couple episodes, because Clarice and Luke and his army are not messing around, but no, they're going out for war. So yeah, great way to end this episode. Again, I loved it, and I can see for what's in store for the next. But that's gonna do it for this video. Just let me know in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed episode 3 of Percy Jackson season 2, give me a rating between 1 out of 10 in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and turn on notifications for future videos. Also follow all my social medias all linked down below. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.